Hey y'all, I'm Sarah from Dottie and Norman, and I have a really special video for today. So settle in and let's just take a few moments to be together. And maybe you're going to be junk journaling while you listen, maybe you're running errands, whatever it is. I'm excited to spend this time with you. And I'm gonna start by going over some of the sneak peeks, things I've been working on lately. A lot of them are sneak peeks that are going to go into our Happy Meal that goes out for this next month in May. And then I also want to talk about 6 ideas I have to help add more whimsy into your life. It's something that I've been reflecting on a lot personally, and I thought that sharing that in this video could be a cozy way for us to connect and build community. So before I get into that, I gotta show you what I've been working on lately. Okay, so I'm gonna start with something that I had so much fun making last weekend and explain a little bit how I made it. But I made these darling little trinket awards. And what I love about these is, as an artist, as someone who loves to paint, I wanted to incorporate my own art in painting. And so each of these awards is hand painted. This one says Trinket Queen, and I had the option for you to customize and put whatever wording on it that you wanted, and also to add whether you wanted a clothespin on the back or like a regular pin, more of like a safety pin, or just plain. This one is plain, you can see the back. And I actually did paint the back of these just watercolor pink. So they're well made and put together, and this was just so much fun. I really enjoyed creating them and envisioning you putting them in your workspace, whether you have an area for journaling or a craft room, or even putting them on the front of your journal, especially if you chose the clothespin option for them, you could just clip it on the front of your journal. We love a bulky trinket, and I thought this would be so fun. And as I was thinking about sharing this in my video today, I was like, what if we made mini ones? What if we had mini awards to go on the front of our journals? Because we love a bulky trinket, but also we love a tiny trinket. So stay tuned, follow my Instagram, follow my YouTube shorts, and I may or may not be putting some mini trinket awards up for sale that are gonna be so cute to go on top of your journals. So stay tuned for that. I mentioned last week that our theme for the month is coastal vacation, and I picked out some special coastal vacation stamps, which I ordered 100 of them. I'm not gonna use them all this month, so it's very likely that you'll be getting a coastal vacation stamp for months from me, but they're so fun. I had to get these beautiful forever stamps. They're gonna be so fun for our theme. I have several creators that I follow, and they're very intentional about which stamps they put on their Happy Meal, and I really love it. I'm probably not going to do that every month or very often. So we're gonna enjoy this month and also appreciate all the creators who do that. It is wonderful. So you can be looking forward to that in your next Happy Meal, which will go out after May 14th. So I also wanted to show a few little pieces that are going to be included in our mail. And this first one is going to be included in every single Happy Meal package that you get. So whether you're on the lowest tier or the highest tier, you're gonna get 2 of these. And they are tiny little faux hand-painted stamps. So I've got a bunch of them here. Let me just grab a couple, okay? Here's a sample of what a couple of them look like. They're little tiny octopuses. They're so cute, and some of them are cross-eyed, which I did that on purpose for some of them, and then some it was accidental. These are so adorable. I'm so excited to put these in my own journal, but also to see them in yours. But what I did is I did use some salt water for the backgrounds, and it's really variant. Each one truly is so unique. But the background is a blue, white, and red saltwater watercolor background, and then I used acrylic markers and paints to hand paint the little octopuses, and it did take me quite a bit of time, and there's so much love in these, you guys. I can't wait for you to get your hands on them. I wanted to make sure that every single subscriber, paid subscriber that gets Happy Meal from me gets something hand painted. So everything that I sell was made by me, but some of it is sent off to my favorite print shop and then sent to you. So I wanted to make sure that you each got, every single paid subscriber got something unique and truly hand painted. And so that's why I do these little faux stamps, and they come in a little vellum envelope. It's so cute, you guys. So I'm excited for y'all to get those. My next piece is, I don't have the finished piece to show you because this is one of the ones that I sent to the print shop, but I'm showing you the original. So this is what it looks like. It is going to be used for our author quote. So every month we have an author quote that goes, it's like a 3.5 by 2 is the actual measurements of the one that you'll be receiving. If you are in the first tier or the third tier, you get this. And so I took this and sent it to my printer and I typed out an author's quote on here. And it's gonna be so cute to go in your journal. Again, I painted with salt water, and there's actually, like, I wish you could see it, but there is salt residue all over this, and I don't even want to touch it because I want it to stay there. But this was such a fun to add, like, the coral, and then right here obviously is going to be where I put the author's quote. And this month I picked an author quote from a book that I'm actually currently reading. I'm still halfway through with reading it, so I can't say whether I recommend it or not. It is called The Enchanted April by, I think her name is Elizabeth von Arnim, and it was written in 1922. It's hilarious. It makes me laugh so much. Again, the jury's still out since I haven't finished it, but there were several really good quotes in it that I've already come across, and so I included one of those as our author quote for the month. So I'm really excited for you to get that. And what's special about this book is it's about 4 women who need a vacation, for all different reasons, and so they go to the coast of Italy. And they don't know each other, and they share a vacation house together. And obviously a lot of chaos ensues. There's someone who's hallucinating. There's someone who's like inviting strangers to come stay with them. They're arguing. They're all different ages. So it's just quite funny. And again, it is set on the Ligurian coast in Italy. And so I thought that would be especially a fun tie-in for this month, but also the quote was really good, and I will share that with you as time goes on, but you can look forward to that. Something else I worked on and sent to the printer this past week was this adorable little lobster. Why is it that when I think of the coast, I think of stripes? I realized that today because I put stripes on this art piece that I made. I'm wearing stripes today. This reminds me of like a little coastal look. And then last week in my video, I was also wearing stripes to announce our theme. So I just keep thinking about, like, why are stripes so coastal? I don't know, but they are. And this is the cutest little lobster piece. And this is our art print for the month. So it's actually, I painted it pretty large, and then I'm scaling it down for the art print. And it'll be really fun. So if you were in the first tier or the last tier, you will be getting this. And I did offer up, if you're in the second tier, you will not receive the art print, but you are receiving a postcard from me that is hand painted. And if you want, go back to the post where I shared this and comment on it and say that you want a lobster, and I will hand paint you a lobster for your postcard. So I don't want anyone to be lobsterless this month. Okay, the other thing I wanted to share that I worked on is so every month I also give a letter, and it is very heartfelt, and it's one of my favorite things to create. I'm a writer. I've been writing on blogs since 2012, off and on, and I have always loved writing. And I was just thinking, like, it's so frequent that I come across AI writing online in captions, in people's posts. I even had one of my kids' teachers send me a letter that was very clearly written by AI. And as someone who really values authorship and writing myself and reading real works, I really wanted to offer this as an extra inclusion in each Happy Meal kit. So I am including a monthly letter, and it is very personal and heartfelt, and I've done 2 so far, and I really enjoyed writing those. So I'm really excited for you to get those. This month I shared a personal story about a coastal vacation that I have had, and how it kind of encouraged me to look a little bit deeper. I gave a little challenge at the end to encourage you to do that as well. And I offered up I shared a couple of books that I've read recently, and I think musicians that I've been listening to as well. So it's packed full, and it's so good. And I'm having that sent and printed at my favorite print shop. And so I am also I also created this month the artwork to go on both sides of the letter. So when it comes to you, you can decide whether you want to include the actual letter in your journal, or if you prefer, you can flip it over and just use the art as a backdrop. And so I created this, and I cropped it and put it as the background for my letter. I love this. Again, I use salt water, and you really can see how it affected the texture of how everything dried. It's so pretty, and again, it matches our theme. And when I put up all of the pieces for this month and I put them all together to send to the printer, they just match so well. The colors are consistent, and that is my goal for this, is that you have some cohesive pieces to add to your journal and inspire you. So those are my sneak peeks that are coming up, and I'm hoping to share some sneak peeks every week as I record this video. For the rest of this video, I wanted to talk about adding whimsy to your life and maybe share some suggestions, things that have worked for me lately. And I actually wrote out like a whole outline because there were several things I wanted to make sure and mention. So I hope you don't mind if I'm like looking down here and there to reference it. I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything that I wanted to say. But one way that I love to spend my weekend mornings every Saturday and Sunday is sitting in bed with a warm drink, and I love to read through blogs by authors, and I'm on Substack. I've subscribed to several of them. Also, I find a lot of inspiration from the Modern Mrs. Darcy blog. I keep up with that every single week and read through. She shares different articles. And one of them that she shared was talking about how much algorithms affect our lives, which obviously I know that, but it really went into depth and made me think a lot harder about how I am using algorithms and how I want to use them or not use them moving forward. I think it's pretty much unavoidable. Like it gave the example of like if you're on a streaming service for Netflix or Hulu or whatever, they're using an algorithm to predict the shows that you like, and how that can be really helpful, but how it can also be limiting. I think that I've had personally different seasons where I really benefit from an algorithm and times where I do feel like it's holding me back. And this article really gave me the opportunity to think about that more. So I'm gonna link that article. And if you wanna learn more about it, I highly recommend reading through that. But it really made me reflect on my book choices and how I get book recommendations. I'll use different apps like Goodreads or Storygraph, or sometimes I'll look on Amazon recommendations to figure out what I should read next. And reading this article really opened my eyes to how limiting that is and can be, and how it's kind of a loop, and how much more meaningful it could be from getting a human-made recommendation. So I also get recommendations from a couple of different podcasts. The Modern Mrs. Darcy podcast I mentioned, and I'll link that. And I also get book recommendations from a podcast called Bad on Paper, so I'll link that. But I kind of just wanted a more grounded book recommendation. So I thought back to a book that I really enjoyed and I was in the mood for in this specific moment, and I'll share it with you. It's called Welcome to the Hunamdong Bookshop, and it was originally written in Korean. It's a translation, and it is set in Korea in a bookshop. It's so heartwarming and so cozy. And I really liked it because I felt like I learned a little bit more about some culture, some Korean culture that I am not very experienced with, but also was still really able to connect with it. And it was very heartwarming and cozy, and talked about these people who felt isolated and alone and how they built a community. And of course, like anything talking about books is going to make me interested, like bookshops, libraries, any of that. So I wanted to find a recommendation like that. So I didn't want to reread it, but I was like, I want something like this. So I ended up at first, instead of like Googling what are similar books to this and having it give me like an AI synopsis or some sponsored content, I decided to look up on Reddit and see what other people were recommending. And so I came across a Reddit thread and was reading through different people's recommendations, and I came across, this one. It's called What You Are Looking For Is in the Library. And I have not started this yet, but this was a recommendation from someone on Reddit. And maybe that's not the best place to get recommendations either, but it felt a little bit more human than just like an algorithm, I guess. So I went to my local bookstore and I found this book. And when I was there, I came across a whole display of similar books, and they were all cozy fiction based in Japan, which is another interest of mine, is learning about Japanese culture. I'm very unfamiliar with it, and so I'm in a season of really enjoying reading books written in Japanese or Korean and then translated. And there is quite a vast genre of cozy fiction in Japanese and Korean, and I really wanted to find it, but I wanted to challenge myself to look outside the algorithm and have a more organic analog experience searching for a book. And I was so shocked to find a whole display of books. There were over 20 books in this genre. They were actually all originally Japanese and translated into English. And I was so excited. They're all cozy fiction. And so I not only picked up this one that I was looking for from my Reddit recommendation, but I went through all 20 books and read the back covers and read about the authors and selected a few more. This one, Hot Chocolate on Thursday, I am about a third of the way in, and it's very charming and cozy and just what I was looking for. I also picked up Days at the Torunka Cafe, and this author, Satoshi Yagasawa, I read one of his cozy fiction books recently. I cannot recall what it was. It was something about books or the library, and I really enjoyed that one. And then when I saw the cover of this, I was very intrigued. Dinner at the Night Library. And it seems a little bit whimsical and magical. So anyways, I appreciate the people at the bookstore who put this display together, because it was such a thrill to be able to come upon something that, like, this is exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for Korean or Japanese cozy fiction. I didn't find any Korean cozy fiction. And one thing I could have done is talk to someone at the bookstore and ask if they had anything specific. But I just had so much fun going to the bookstore and trying to find a book organically. That being said, I do use algorithms all the time. There are plenty of ways that I use technology to make my life easier. Online grocery shopping, ordering things online. And I don't want that to be all that I do. And so I'm really trying to challenge myself to add a little bit more whimsy, a little bit more inconvenience, because I think there's something magical that happens when we do things in an organic way. So I wanted to share a few suggestions of how maybe we can add some more whimsy into our lives. So the first one I have is a favorite. So instead of using Spotify or Apple Music to predict which music you like, or Pandora, going to a secondhand bookstore, media store, or a thrift shop and seeing what kind of music they have there. Maybe they have it on vinyl or CD, and maybe you don't even need to purchase an album there, but it can give you ideas about things that you might not otherwise find and that might not come up for you in an algorithm. I think one limitation of algorithms that I learned from this article is just how cyclical they are, and just kind of get you listening to the same thing over and over, reading the same kind of things. And I think for a little bit, sometimes I'm in a season where I just want this one thing, but it doesn't last very long, and I get bored after a while and want to branch out. And so I really like the idea of finding music in an organic way, and maybe finding something that you might really like. I started listening to Joni Mitchell a couple of years ago because I came upon a book that talked about her music, and I was intrigued, and that was a fun organic way for me to get into her music, whereas I had never been recommended it before. The same with Fleetwood Mac. I read a book by Taylor Jenkins Reid that was kind of a parallel of Stevie Nicks Live, and it got me to listen to Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks, and I ended up going to her concert a couple of years ago, and that was never music that would have been recommended to me in my algorithm. At this point, I'm sure it would, but I love the idea of coming up with organic ways to listen to music. So another thing I love doing, recommended by one of my best friends, Kriti. She had the suggestion of listening to an album from the top and going straight through. A lot of times, we'll listen to an album and we'll do shuffle, or listen to a bunch of different artists in the same playlist. And I have really enjoyed the process of listening to an album straight through, as the artist intended. And that's been really fun for me to listen, just listen and see what order, and were they trying to tell a story based off of the order that they shared. So another recommendation or another idea I have, so I mentioned the way that I found books. This one would be like finding books organically. So maybe even just going to a bookshop and just browsing and not knowing exactly what you want to purchase or what you have in mind, but letting it surprise you. Or even like asking a friend, what books do you recommend, or what books have you read recently? And I think a lot of us have done that before, but it's so fun for me to come upon a book that I really enjoy, knowing that my friend read it too, and we can talk about it, and that feels really connected and heartwarming. Let's see. Okay, my third suggestion. So we talked about getting music from exploring at a thrift shop or at a media store, finding books from a friend. Third would be shopping. Instead of shopping online for clothes, maybe going in person. So whether that's going to a thrift shop or a local shop, or if you are going to shop at a big box store, just add a little bit more whimsy by at least going in person and getting to smile at the person who's checking you out at the register. I think that just having that experience is really enchanting and whimsical, and in a world that is so online, I don't want to take that for granted. And again, like I said, like I do shop online, I do buy my groceries online most of the time, but I think that in this day and age, with so much technology, the responsibility is on us to be selective about when to use it and when to not, and when it's serving us and when it's not. And so I hope that as a population, we can become more discerning about when to maybe go out of our comfort zones. Okay, my fourth idea is to go to a local craft fair instead of shopping online or at a big box store for your crafts and stickers. I've really enjoyed coming upon local creators. I went to a local craft store or a craft fair, and I didn't find any junk journaler supplies. That's what I was initially looking for. But I found a woman who made handmade earrings out of polymer clay, and they were so beautiful. And so I actually used some of her earrings and I took them apart and put them in my trinkets for my junk journal charms. And so I have this really special charm that's really meaningful for me, and I remember exactly where I was when I bought it and the conversation I had with the creator, and it was a very charming experience. Number 5, okay, this is really fun. So going to a farmer's market or a local market to get produce and find like whatever's in season, whatever they're selling, and challenge yourself to use it in a recipe to come up with a way to use those ingredients. Every time I've bought like seasonal produce, it's just better. I've tried buying strawberries in December and they are bad. And so buying fruits in season, vegetables in season, and especially when they're local, they're probably going to be better. And it's going to be such a fun experience to challenge yourself and see like, how can I use these ingredients to make something for myself? And what a cozy experience it is to really like take the time to make yourself a homemade, thoughtful meal. I do try to cook homemade like several times a week, but it's honestly like pretty like thrown together and like similar to what I made the week before. And so I like the idea of just like being a little bit more intentional with a recipe, maybe setting aside some extra time so you aren't stressed about getting a recipe done. That sounds very magical, doing that. I might plan to do that this weekend. And then my 6th idea for adding a little bit more whimsy outside of the algorithm is to, I think that we can all relate to this as junk journalers, like how much inspiration we get from others that we see online. And that is a wonderful thing that I think we've appreciated. And so many of us have found online community through junk journaling. And it's something that has really enriched my life. I've gotten new ideas and new crafts and things, but I also don't want us to lose our own creativity in the process. And so at least every once in a while, like try to create a spread that's just on your own, not with like stuff that you've seen a tutorial for, but something, just using the things you already have at home, and maybe even trying to look outside of what you normally use, outside of your craft supplies. Like, what could you put together that would be a really unique idea or a unique journal spread? And sometimes it's gonna turn out well and sometimes it's not, and that's just part of life and the process, and adds a bit more enchantment in my mind of creating these beautiful experiences. So those are my ideas of adding whimsy into your life outside of an algorithm. And I would love to hear other ideas of what we could do that might be very whimsical outside of just a recommendation given to us on social media or an algorithm. Like, how can we create a bit more of these organic moments? I think these moments are just so much more grounding for me. You know, like, I can be online digitally looking at my phone, getting a book recommendation, and that's probably not going to be very enriching, and I probably won't even remember like where I got the recommendation from, versus going to a store. I'm walking around, I'm perusing the shelves, I'm picking things up, I'm smelling the coffee at the coffee shop next door. I might like make a friend there or say hello to the cashier and discover something new. And I think if we're only depending on the algorithms to help us discover things, I think we're losing a lot. And I personally am challenging myself to make discoveries outside of my phone, outside of the algorithm, and in a more grounded, sensory focused way. So thank you so much for listening to this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I would love to hear your suggestions in the comments. If you could like this video, that would mean so much to me. Make sure you are subscribed, because I will be putting out these longer form videos for us every Wednesday here on YouTube, and I so appreciate you spending this time with me.